Hello, and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is the podcast where you speak to mavericks of the comedy world. Now, today's guest is Trevor Bickles. He's a good friend of mine on the comedy circuit. He's a great comedian, but he's also a great taxi driver. So, if you've seen the film with the fantastic Robert De Niro, The Taxi, Trevor Bickles is that, but times 10. Please welcome Trevor Bickles.
Now that is an intro. Now that is what I call an intro. Being compared to Robert De Niro's character in Taxi Driver. Here's a question for you. What is the taxi driver's name?
Oh, fuck. I don't know.
I know the name, right? Because I used to write a joke, there's kind of a joke on this, but no one got the reference. The taxi driver's name is Travis Bickle.
Oh!
Yeah, my name is Trevor Bickles. Everyone's like, is that a real name? People used to think it was a stage name. People used to say to me, are you like, is this a stage name? I'm like, no, like, this is my real name. So yeah, Trevor Bickles, taxi driver, Travis Bickle, taxi driver.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. Only people that know the film get the reference. Only people know, because some people don't know the film.
No, it's old film, and it's a great film. It's was it the film that made Robert De Niro?
I think it was one of the ones. Yeah, it was one when he's right early in his career. Was that like that? Raging Bull may have been a bit as well.
Okay,
but I know Taxi Driver. Yeah, he was great in it. He was brilliant.
It's a great film. A bit. I mean, I said it in a good way as well, because like his character is ends up a bit disturbed when he was meeting with all these nutters. So I said it in a good way.
Mate, that doesn't surprise me. You should see some of the taxi drivers on London streets. They wouldn't be far off him. I'm telling you.
Really? So we were saying with the intro, like you're a comedian and like taxi driver. So like, I want to give two questions here. So, how did you become a comedian, and what is your journey to being a taxi driver?
Well, it's journey to be a taxi driver. I like that one. That's dum dum dum. They're kind of all marrying. They're bizarrely marrying together, and how they kind of both come. They both kind of come together, really. Now, pre-taxi driver days, I was a chef.
Okay.
I was a chef. Left school, was a chef, and I also worked in a pub. I sort of by day I was a chef. By night, I helped out in a pub every now and then. It was my dad. My dad managed it, and one of the bar staff there always said to me, I was always making them laugh and joking about being on the bar. She said, have you ever tried doing stand-up? And you just kind of go, nah, I couldn't do that. I just thought it was totally out of my reach. Anyway, I got sick of being a chef. So I studied to become a London cabbie, right? Which is what I did. I became a London cabbie and got the job. So my journey for that was kind of, to become a London cabbie, you've got to do what's called the knowledge of London. We've got to learn all the streets and roads in London. And that took me about 4.5 years to do. I've got to do it through the whole testing process and things like that. And then, sorry, I just hit a button. So then I left the catering industry, become a cabbie. And then I had always free time on my hands, because when I used to be a chef and used to work long hours, I was almost like, what do I do with myself? I've never had a hobby. And something played into my mind. Someone said, have you ever thought of doing the stand-up? Like Kelly said, do it as a hobby. And I kind of went, I thought, all right. So I Googled Open Mic Comedies London. The Lion's Den. Do you remember that, Marv? The Lion's Den, right? The Lion's Den was the first one that popped up. So I thought, well, I don't know any different. Let's just go for it. And it kind of just went from there, really. Started out as a little bit of a hobby, and it's grown like to a way that I never imagined. So that's why they're sort of married in together, really.
Okay, that's brilliant. Now, to anyone that doesn't know about the Lion's Den,
iconic.
It is, and it was set up by the late and the brilliant Tim Rendell. It was a mad show. You would pay £4 to put your name in the bucket, get called randomly, be surrounded by 16 other comedians. It was in a very dark basement. A lot of times it would be a very long night. People would be tired, and it would be difficult. Very difficult.
Yeah. It wasn't the best place to start, put it that way. Well, I like it. It wasn't like, if you thought this is what comedy is going to be like, it's like, no, it isn't. You almost start in very bottom. The only way was up from there, wasn't it? If you have a gig you do, the only way was up from there. But it was also iconic. Like, everyone kind of knew it, and it was kind of, I don't know. I always think it was a bit of a staple of the comedy world. It got a bit of bad press for obviously having to charge, but everyone who'd done it had a soft spot for it, didn't they?
Yeah. But now, things that I don't think it. I know they changed it to being free and you just walk up, but I don't know if it would it still get as much because there's so many bringer gigs now. It's been overtaken, and it seems in some ways I reckon people would be distracted by that now because there's so many bringers.
I think so. I've heard it's moved as well.
Oh,
I've heard,
okay.
I think it's gone down to South London. I don't know. It's been years since I've been back there. Absolutely years. So yeah, I wouldn't have a clue what's happened with it now. Wouldn't have a clue.
And I think so. Going on from that, I think the first gig that I saw you at was with Gilberto Soto, and it was a gig in Shoreditch, and I think you were with your missus.
Yep.
And I remember getting in a bit of trouble. I was saying something that was a bit fishy, and I just dug
Oh,
myself in a further and further hole. But it is what it is.
that comes back to me now. Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yes, I remember that gig because yeah, you said something. I think you were going down a route with a joke, and something was happening with a joke, but you were kind of digging and digging and digging the hole, and it just didn't go the right way, did it at all with that joke? And
Yeah.
something, yeah, no, I remember that night. Now, was that the first time we met? I didn't realise that was the first one we did.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was with you and your missus. It was Gilberto Soto and Adam Kumas. And I think Adam Kumas, they used to run it together. And Adam Kumas says, we don't say, Marvin, or something, you don't say those things. It comes across as homophobic or whatever. But I don't remember the joke. Don't say it. I'm going to get cancelled. No, it is what it is. I tried something. It failed and it didn't go the right way. And
Yeah.
there was, that's what it is. There's a bit of divide on this. Like, we take risks. It doesn't go the way we expect. We change. We move on. But then other people say, "Oh, you can't say what you want." Listen, you can, but you got to communicate it the right way.
I think that's a really interesting subject you mentioned about that. I think, see, you can and you can't. It's like you can, in theory, you can say whatever you want, but the repercussions, I think, sometimes are very unnecessary to the crime. So,
Okay.
for example, you tried a joke. It didn't work. It was one of those things we all tried, it didn't work. But because it might have been perceived the wrong way, you're instantly, heretic, burn him, take him to hell, rah, rah, rah. You're instantly labelled as this evil demon figure rather than just someone trying something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And this is, it's funny because I was in New York and I see a bit of comedy over in New York, and I noticed the freedom over there, in a sense where you could try things, where you could say things, and it was, how can I put it? You could try things and you could say things, and if it didn't land and it wasn't brilliant, it was just like, oh, okay, on to the next joke. Whereas here, it's almost like if you say something slightly wrong, it can be perceived the wrong way. It can be almost, the crime can outweigh the punishment can outweigh the crime, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But we know someone who did take a risk and he got it the wrong way. Adam Riley, like, he's a good friend. We know him. He's a cool guy, but he
Adam's
took
cool
a
guy.
risk with that joke. It failed, but he always said to me, and he said on the podcast, "It's a good thing I'm not famous because otherwise it'll be a lot worse."
It's true. Yeah, if he was famous, it'd have been 100 times worse. See, Adam's a lovely guy. He's a good comedian, and
Very good.
and the joke, yeah, he tried something. If anything, I didn't think it was that bad. But this is what I mean. It's like sometimes the punishment can outweigh the crime, I think. Just because it's hard to describe. Sometimes you can just, I think the bottom line is the punishment can outweigh the crime. I think that's the best way I can put it. Sometimes, because it stifles freedom of expression to a degree, if that makes sense.
It does, and I think the thing is, I see it as like if you're working with someone or if you're in a friendly conversation, you say something that goes a little bit the wrong way. You apologize, you move on from it.
Yeah.
That's what I see it as. And that's what it is a lot of times. I know in like some places now, when they start effing blind and go, I fucking hate this race, I fucking hate this, they're this and they're that. There's a difference. But what Adam Riley did, he just took a risk and it went the wrong way and he apologized. And it's the end of the discussion, really. You have to take chances. But if they go in nailing down on it and they're really offensive and they keep pushing and pushing, then that's a different story.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree on that one. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. couldn't put that better, actually.
Oh, but people are looking to be offended, and also they're looking to what's it called? In some cases, it helps them out and makes them look like the good guy, and it gives them credence.
Yeah. Or you mean like the comedian? Yeah, I think sometimes it does. It does help the comedian. See, the thing is, I don't know about you, but I look at the circuit and I think, are there people on there that I would look at and think, oh, they're a racist, or they're a this, or they're a that? Do you know what I mean? I think, no, everyone seems really cool. You know, I
Yeah,
don't
I'd say
know
that.
anyone like that. I don't know anyone that you can kind of get a sense of a person, can't you? What they're going to be like, you know. And I think there's no one on the circuit I wouldn't think's like that. So if they do say something that might be perceived like even like they touch on subjects that might be a little bit sensitive or tricky. I don't know, it feels like you're really treading on eggshells sometimes. If you know what I mean, you're going down a real
Yeah,
like I don't use the word dangerous. Dangerous is the wrong word. A tricky route, you know.
yeah. You know what? What you said there's true. I don't think there is. I think there's people that. Yeah, I don't think there's. Yeah, I don't think there's really anyone on the circuit that I know who has the intention of being racist or
Yeah,
homophobic or any of those things. Yeah, they
yeah.
want to make people laugh. It's just that occasionally they say the wrong thing in the wrong way.
Well, it's it's. I won't say it could be perceived as the wrong thing, or it could be perceived as they're just touching on challenging subjects.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, do you know what I mean? And And that's where I think sometimes, especially in the cities, I find in the cities it's a lot more politically correct. You've got to be a lot more careful with what you say. Out in the countryside, yeah, you can be a little bit more free. You can be a little
Oh,
more free.
okay.
Yeah, you can be a bit more free out there. Yeah.
Is it like that up north as well? Because I know Carl Legacy was saying, like, if you get a girl with blue hair saying, "Oh, I don't like this," you're offended, and he says, "Good for you. See you later, love."
Do you know, I haven't done a lot. Believe it or not, I don't really gig a lot. I haven't really been to the north. I know furthest I've kind of gone to Birmingham. I've been to the north once or twice, but
Okay.
not enough that I can kind of say. But I find obviously London and more metropolitan areas are a little bit more. Um, You've got to be a bit more careful, a bit more PC, you know, a bit more politically correct, a bit more sort of nervous, almost, the audience is. Whereas when you step out into sort of like the suburban areas, the countryside, obviously you've still got to, be a little bit careful, but there is a slight sense of freedom out there. There's a
Okay.
slight sense of freedom when you step outside of London. I've definitely noticed that. Definitely.
So you're sort of with TikTok, your TikTok blowing up, and with comedy at the moment. Would you say you're like a semi-pro comic or something like
Yeah.
that?
That's what I class myself as, really, semi-pro. Um, like I said, still got my day job. I still have to rely on that for my work, but obviously I do a lot of, I'm starting to get a lot more gigs on the what we call the pro circuit. So, yeah, I class myself as a semi-pro act, really, and I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah. But even with people that are really high up, like Jeff Innes, well, Jeff Innes, now that he's got a big social media following, he's sorted. But I know
Yeah.
that a big comedy store headliners, they still have to. I hear more and more of them having to take other jobs as well.
Yeah, because I think, see, this is what I hear more from the older comedians about how obviously they always say, like, back in the days you could live off the wage and this, that, and the other. I think it's become a bit more of I don't want to say a promoter's market, but the wage. So I noticed that the earnings in compared to cost of living, some people have said that they haven't risen with cost of living, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can't live on the wage like you used to. So you've had to go and get second jobs or do a side job just to help you out pay the bills and stuff like that. So obviously when I got into it, it's always kind of been like this for me. So I couldn't really give you a comparison, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I know, like, the money I supposedly earn off of it, I couldn't live off it. I've got an expensive missus who likes holidays.
Of course. Yeah. It is what it is, isn't it? But I mean, it's the thing though. So you gig a lot up and down the circuit. What would you say is the best thing about it? I mean, the car shares, the stories. One of the reasons I do the podcast is the thing that I like most about comedy is that it comes from all walks of life. That's what I like most about it.
Yeah, I'd say the best thing about travelling around, especially outside of London, like I touched on before, I'd say the freedom of it. You do get it's a different world. London and the outside London is two different worlds comedically. Going to I love the challenge. It sounds really silly, like a bit sort of, I don't know, like, I can't think of the word. I love the challenge of walking into a new venue or walking into somewhere that I've never been before and trying to kind of win them over, if that makes sense. It's my own little thing. Plus, it's always nice, when you get like on a lineup and you've like got, say, a group of comedians that you really get along with, or you know it's gonna be a nice night. Just sometimes the backstage banter, sometimes there's the chat with the other comedians can be just as good fun, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So if you get a night, if you get a good lineup and you get along well with the comedians, everyone's in good form. Yeah, it can be a really fun night. It can be a fun night for everyone. You know, it's just I always try and make the nights enjoyable for me as well as the audience. I think that's the best way I look at it.
Yeah. And so, with going into comedy, you work as a taxi driver. How
Yeah.
does that help in terms of comedy? Because you must have tons of stories. Number two, I mean, bloody hell, tons of stories. And I don't know, dealing with some of the people you have to deal with being a taxi driver, that must help deal with some tough audiences as well.
Yeah, that definitely helps, mate. That definitely helps. So, especially when you're having to deal with the drunks and the crazy people in the back of the cab, that definitely helps the whole cabbie sort of. So the comedy side of things. Yeah, it has helped me with material. Like I base not most of it, some of my set on my life as a cabbie. I think it's a niche thing. You don't get many people, if not any, on the circuit like me. So it's kind of a very niche topic. People are a little bit interested in it. You know, I make fun of the kind of stereotypes of cabbie things that people say or do. It's helped me out with some of my best material. That's stuff that's happened to me. I've created stories out of it. It helps with I think the speaking side, the confidence side of thing as well. So obviously I've got to be confident enough to go on stage and talk to the audience. I'm quite a confident person anyway, but also you've got to be confident in the cab dealing with your passenger, if that makes sense, because it's a very one-to-one interaction. You know, I can't go and get the manager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't run off and go and get my manager. I have to deal with it myself. So it builds confidence as well. It's really, which helps. And also, believe it or not, the work-life balance is good.
Oh.
Like I can manage my job around the comedy, which helps. That's a real big thing.
Oh yeah. Especially. Oh God, that's great. I heard that with Uber drivers though, they don't get that.
Sorry, I can't hear you anymore. Reception's
Sorry.
gone. Wrong person. Goodbye.
Sorry.
Goodbye.
I remember I got a taxi driver. I got a lift from a taxi driver in King's Cross, but what he did is he did Uber driving as well as being a taxi driver.
What, black cabbie?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Nah, I've never heard of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, he came down with a big taxi car, and apparently he was telling me he could have been playing for Arsenal, and he said that was a good job. He dropped me off.
Bloody hell! What? I've never heard of that. I know. See, us cabbies, we've got our own apps as well.
Okay.
People don't realise that we do have our own apps. The whole Uber Black Cab thing, that's a whole different conversation. You know what I mean? They are what they are. You can imagine, obviously, all I can say is you can probably imagine we've all got our own opinions of them and things like that. You know what I mean? But I don't want to bore everyone. Do you want to hear my opinions on it?
Yeah, go on. Let's say it.
Right, I'll do it. Yeah, right. This is the thing. This is the question I get asked probably about a zillion times in the cab. So it might sound a bit scripted, right? So hear me out. Now, the best way I look at Uber, right? Uber to me are just a mini cab firm. That's all they are, right?
Okay.
All they've done is replace the old-fashioned mini cab in London, right? Plus, so also, believe it or not, I've got no issue with Uber drivers. Controversially, I've got no issue with them because they're just people that are earning a living. The issue I have is with the company itself and how they were introduced into London. But that's a very long story, how they were done underhand. But that's a very long story. And thirdly, I won't say it has made a bit of an impact on us. It has. But what I've noticed is with Uber as well, is that how can I put it? The people that kind of use Uber were always minicab users, if that makes sense. Like, there's that one person would always get a black cab or always get a minicab. Yeah. When I was younger, I was always a minicab person. Yeah. All that has is they've just replaced the minicab.
Okay.
If that makes sense. That's all they are. And I think so. Yeah, I'm not. And they some of their driving skills are terrible though. Some of their driving is atrocious. But in general, no, I don't hate them as people, as drivers. Okay. It's the company and how they come into the system that I didn't like. So yeah, that's my. There you go. It tells very scripted. You probably I've been asked that question 101 times. So yeah, there you go.
Well, no, Uber are slimy cunts, and I saw it on Magnate Media. I saw it online, like there's so many countries that ban them, and so many people that hate them, and their practices about the things they've done to try and take over. It's well documented. They are slimy.
Do you know what I love about this, right? I was all diplomatic and professional and tried not to sound like it, and you just went, yeah, Uber, slimy cunt.
Yes, that's funny. I can't believe it was me who said that.
Well, it should be the other way around. This conversation should have been the other way around.
I've had interesting interactions with cab drivers. You know what? I should have taken a New York cabbie just to see what it was like, but I took Uber. But it is what it is. But I know that I've had interesting ones. I remember a few weeks ago, I saw this black cabbie, old white guy. This is going to sound racist, but he comes across. He was. Should I say? You know, like the place that you did for me in Epsom.
Oh crikey, yeah.
He came across as one of those types of characters, and like some guy was on a bike, and he says,
"He'd paint a roundabout sort of geezer."
Yeah, I think that could be racist if I say it like that. I don't know, but he said there was a bit of a crash, and he blamed one of the Deliveroo guys. Said, "Listen here," I'm not going to do the accent. I'll do it in a posh voice. "Listen here, mate. You made me effing cause this," and he was pointing him, having a go at him. And then some other guy came over and said, "You can't fucking talk to this guy like that. You what? Fucking yeah, I'm not scared of you. What?" And then it turned out to be handbags, and then the guy just drove off.
Some of those old cabbies. Some of those old cabbies, mate. Thing is, it can be a stressful job. So obviously I don't know the ins and outs of that situation, but yeah, Deliveroo drivers are a nightmare. You talk about bad driving. Uber drivers are bad. The worst ones are the Deliveroo drivers. So it doesn't surprise me if you did cause an accident, if I'm honest with you.
Fair enough. But I also had an incident where a guy, scary old man, he overcharged me for a short journey. And I was looking at, why is it costing this much? And then he scared me a bit because I was about to take a picture, but then he was stood there saying, "Go on then, son."
What, in the black cab?
Yeah, he scared me a bit, and then I didn't bother. But I've had interesting incidences, but it is what it is. There's good and bad everywhere, and you just got to take it as it is. Don't like brush people under the same brush.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. There's some fantastic cab drivers out there, me, and there's some other like absolute. Yeah, you're right. There's good and bad in every job, you know, and yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with your fare. You know, it could have been bad traffic. There could have been 101 reasons to it, you know. But I suppose I've had bad interactions with minicabs over the years. So, like you say, in all jobs, there's good and bad people, isn't there?
But from your side of things, so from the other side of the fence, what's it like dealing with all these people? I mean, you must get people trying to skip paying, or you get people trying to scare you. Listen here, fam, yeah, like, if you don't get a free ticket, I'm going to shank you, blood. What?
You do that too well, Marv. You do that too well. Yeah, you deal with a broad brush spectrum of all walks of life. I mean, all different people from... You know, I could say I've had, priests in the cab, famous priests. I'll tell you about my people about that later. To celebrities, to people who just give birth. You know, people that are ill. You'll get all sorts. So you do meet a broad brush spectrum of the world. I always say, I do in one of my jokes. I say my windscreen is like my TV screen to the world because I see everything. You know, and I think, you know, I've had all sorts. You know, I've had drunks. I had a really bad drunk once. Really, really bad drunk. And should I tell you the story quickly about the bad drunk?
Tell me.
Yeah, right. So I just started out in the game. I was what's called a butter boy. Now, butter boy is a newbie. That's kind of the nickname they give to newbies, a butter boy. So I was new. Picked up a guy in Notting Hill. I made a mistake. I should never have picked him up. He was so drunk. Right, so he fell into the cab and he shouts his address and he goes, "Take me to London Fields." Right. So I start driving towards London Fields. And he says, "I've got no money." And I'm like, right, look, mate, I mean, I'm going to have to drop you out here. I'll drop you back to where I picked you up from, or we've got to get the money, one of the two. So he goes on the phone and he's talking to his wife. I think it was his missus. Now, like an Eastern European style accent, so it was quite strong. So he was like, duh, 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 money, duh, 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 taxi. So you can kind of tell what the conversation was happening. Anyway, so I'm driving along, but he's kind of like, and I'm like, oh. I'm thinking, please don't be sick. And he's like, I pay when I get there. I pay when I get there. So I'm thinking, well, I've got no choice. I'm going to have to do this job. But I'm hammering it down the road. I mean, I am trying to drive something. I've got to get rid of this geezer, right? Now, anyone from London or the London area knows Holland Park to London Fields is quite a journey, isn't it? So I'm bombing it down. And then this car pulls out in front of me. So I've had to hit my brakes. Right? And all I hear is the geezer's gone flying in the back and gone off his seat and flown onto the floor. So I'm like, are you all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. But I'm not like speeding. I'm just trying to like, get through the traffic, get done quickly. You know, we get to London Field. So I'm like, whereabouts do you want, mate? And he's like, oh, just let me out here. And I'm like, and in my head, I've gone, no, if I let you out here, you're going to go into those flats and I'll never see you. Right. And it was by pure grace of God that I would thank God for this. I turned a corner and there's this woman just standing there in the middle of the street. And I'm like, do you know him? She went, she stopped me. And I went, do you know him? She went, yeah, that's my husband. So anyway, she said, how much do I owe you? So she pays the fare. And I said, look, you're going to have to get him out. And that's what saved my life. Because as she's pulling him out, all of it, he goes, oh, I want to speak to the taxi driver. So I'm like, you're right, mate. And all of a sudden he goes, you beep, beep, beep. And he starts lamping the inside of the taxi and starts just losing it. Bang, bang, wah, going crazy. And I'm like, whoa. And even his wife were like, whoa, what's going on? And I noticed his feet were on the floor, on the pavement. So I thought, right, because you know, like he's kind of leaning in like that, right? So I'm like, right, just hit the accelerator, just go, right? So I bang, hit the accelerator, shot off down the road, right? The door's wide open, bombed off down the road. The best way I could describe it, all I could see in my review was him chasing me. And if anyone remembers the film Terminator 2, you know, when the copper's running like that, it was like a short little fat version of a bloke doing like running like Terminator 2 after me, right? And it was just like, but I'm just like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, you know, what's going on? So I'm driving around the street. I had to jump out of the cab, run around, slam the door shut and drove off. And so, yeah, that was the worst drunk I ever had. That was the nuttiest drunk. That was the nuttiest drunk I ever had. But then what you do is, as a cab driver, over the years, you learn how to handle those situations. And if I'm honest with you, you learn to avoid those. I think the best way to describe it is avoid those situations. Because one thing they do teach you in the cab when you get their license is don't put yourself in danger. Like, obviously, you've got to take passengers, but if you feel like you're putting yourself in danger in situations like that, don't do it. Don't put yourself in danger. So yeah, it teaches you a lot. You've got to be very streetwise, very smart, know how to talk to people. You meet some fantastic people. Like I've had some wonderful conversations with people, like absolutely fascinating. But I've also met some of the most stupidest people in the world. Like absolutely, like, you know, like some people you think to yourself, how do you survive? You're that stupid. That sort of person. You look at some people and go, how do you get up in the morning? Like, how do you survive? Like, you do meet some people like that. But like I say, you meet a broad brush spectrum of people. And it can be a really fun job. It can be very funny. It can be a bit boring at times, but it can be very fun.
And to answer that question, I just look at myself in the mirror and say hi. No, God, bloody hell. Yeah, it's, and I can imagine that's a horrifying story.
Yeah, that's my worst story. That's my scariest story. That scared the pants out of me that day.
Shall I share some scary stories I had?
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
So, I had, what was it? Yeah, last year I was working in so to Asian relatives out there that are listening, I know my mum's told you I work in tech. I don't, but I'm not bothered about what you think. There's a big thing in Asian culture. You're supposed to work in tech or something smart.
Yeah. I've always wondered, Bob, what's your like heritage? Like what?
It's confusing. So my dad's a Scouser. They're naturally half Irish and half English.
Right.
My mum is Chinese, but they all moved to Thailand, so they're all sort of got Thai culture.
Right. So you're a kind of Thai, Irish, Scouse kind of mix up, basically.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I never knew that. Okay. Cool.
And one thing that was really mad is when I went to Milton Keynes, some white guy who looked like he's a member of Tommy Robertson's Friends said, definitely mail order bride, looking at my mum and dad.
Oh, it's a bit harsh.
But it was a bit mad, though. Like, you need to get it right, mate. They're both the same age. That happens when, like, the guy is 70 and the woman's 20.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a rich old man, you're not going to buy someone the same age. You're going to buy someone that's like 20 and looks like a supermodel.
Exactly. Like, you're going to go for the younger model, of course. You're not going to go for the classic car. You're going to go for the younger model. That's what you're going to do.
Yes, but it was mad. And then, sorry about the stories.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
I was working with this lovely black lady in the coffee shop, and these two Somalian guys, they were, she said, keep a lookout, because early in the day, two Somalian guys went and stole some beer off them, and they had to confront them. And then she told me to keep a lookout. And then I looked, but I looked like I was staring. She said, don't stare. And I stared. And then they went and took the beer, and I told her. Then we went to go and follow them. And then this girl is brave as hell. Like, she's about half the size of me. And like, the guy was, so she said, give the beer back.
Yeah.
One of the guys walked off, and then one of the guys says, yo, like, I'm going to back. Do you want me to throw a glass over your head, yeah? And the funny thing about it was that I'd just come back from Italy, where I did a backflip, and I was on crutches for a while, and I only just discovered the ability to walk again.
Oh my gosh!
And then they started threatening her, and then obviously, if something happened, I would have to do that. And then she said, "Do it then." Then he didn't, and they walked off. And then we got one beer back, but we didn't get the other back. And then the bloody train security guard just said, "Oh, keep mentioning it, and eventually they'll do something about it." But it was ridiculous. And then another incident, someone tried to mug me in, the gig that I used to run in Hammersmith. And then I was looking on my map trying to get a haircut. And then I stopped there, and the guy goes on a bike, stops in front of me, says, "Yo, taking pictures, yeah?" But the thing, he didn't sound like that. He sounded like a little girl talking in a rude boy accent.
Yo, you're taking pictures, yeah?
Yeah, exactly like that. And then,
yeah? Yo, man, then.
Exactly. And then I said, no, I'm just trying to get a haircut. And then he said like that, are you getting Larry? and then I saw what was going on, and I saw one of the guys that's the barman. So it's on the side road of the Grove. And I walked back that way, and I thought, if he's going to start something, at least there'll be two of us. So I go walk that way, and he moans like a little child. I can't remember what he said. He says, "Oh, you're supposed to get robbed," or something like that.
I was supposed to rob you.
Yeah, that was exactly it. They're the maddest things that have happened to me, like, recently.
That's crazy. That's nuts. There's a little kid with his little voice trying to rob you.
He was an adult size, but he had that voice.
Adult size with a baby voice. Hello, I'm going to rob you.
But and I told a South African comedian, well, a Zimbabwe comedian that moved to South Africa, and he said our muggers are lazy.
Oh, over there, over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, compared to South Africa, I can imagine. South African, yeah, the South African muggers don't mess about.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's what's happened to me. That's mad. Yeah, funny stories, but it's what it is.
Yeah, that's nuts, mate. That's nuts.
But that girl, though, she was not scared at all, and I was more scared than she was.
No, she didn't care. She had the bravery of a Jack Russell. She did. She was.
But this is London, though. London is becoming, as a city, less safe. That much is definitely true. It's gotten less and less safe.
Yeah, it's sad to say that. I mean, I have seen it driving around in the cab, unfortunately. The kind of phone snatchers, the guys going around on the mopeds grabbing things and stuff like that. It is becoming more apparent. I know in the cab industry, during the summer, we get a lot of Arabic passengers over from the Middle East. And some of them have said they don't come anymore, or they're reluctant to come because they were going out in the street wearing a nice watch and stuff like that. They're just getting mugged. They're just getting mugged for it. And I think, it has got worse. It has got worse, I think, the crime. But, how can I put it? I think nothing will change until we change things at the top. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
As in, like, London. It's no coincidence that London's not got steadily worse over the last 8-9 years. And who's been in charge the last 8-9 years? There's no coincidence. There's no coincidence. It's like, well, that's my opinion anyway.
It's not going to change though, because there's like Liberal Democrats don't really have any footing, and the people hate the Conservatives so much that they're going to stick with Khan, and Labour are going to stick with him.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a and what maybe reform, because people seem to be a bit tired of both parties. I know that there's a lot of people that don't like him and all of that, but it seems that people are getting tired of both parties. So
I think that's why we're seeing a rise in reform. This is now turned into politics hour, and this is like me in the back of my cab talking politics with people. This is brilliant. So hold on, mate. I'll do it in proper cabbie style. Wait there, right, for your viewers. I should have done this right at the start. We'll talk like this. You see what I mean, son? Right? I'll do the whole podcast like this, over my shoulder for you, proper cabbie style. How about that? Where was I? I think the rise in reform. If you want to talk about politics, I think you could probably imagine as well. Being a cabbie, we talk about all subjects. There are some subjects. We'll talk about politics in a minute, but there are some subjects. If I'm honest, they get a bit repetitive. Like I remember during Brexit, it drove cab drivers mad. I mean, people don't realise it drove us insane. Because imagine doing 15, 20 passengers a day and having 15, 20 people asking you exactly the same question. It was just a bit like, do you know what I mean? I appreciate people wanting their opinions. They do, because I like hearing their opinions, but it got a little bit draining near the end. But with regarding the political side of things, I think people seem to talk about reform as if, I think reform are becoming a protest vote.
Yes.
They're becoming more of a protest vote. People are kind of just a bit bored and tired and stale and drained of the two-party system. And they're looking around and thinking, all right, well, reform do seem to be picking up a lot of people. Granted, they're turning into the Tory party B team with the amount of people that are defecting. But then obviously you're looking at like something like the Greens. Zach Polanski was on Question Time the other night, or one of the shows the other night, and apparently he came across quite well. So I think you'll see the fringe parties definitely picking up votes. But will we see change in London? In my opinion, I don't think so. If I'm honest with you. No. So yeah, we got all deep and political there, and we didn't mean to, did we? Went a bit deep then, didn't it?
It is funny that you say about like Sadiq and all that, but his brother runs like a really good amateur boxing club. Which does a lot, like his name's Sid Khan. So it does a lot of things for the local community in Wandsworth and Earlsfield. Like it helps a lot of young kids get off the street, and it helps them better their lives. And his brother does a lot for the community in the local area.
Yeah, no, I can imagine he does. And but I just think in general, the way I look, like I said a minute ago, there's no coincidence that crime has steadily got worse over the last 8 to 9 years. We've had this man in power, but yet people still vote for the man. If that makes sense, it's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expects a different result, and that's what it feels like a bit to me. It's like, but then who do you get in? That's the question. That is the question.
Yes. And that, oh God, no, but that's the thing, isn't it? Things have to get worse before they get better. So people only make the change unless it gets really bad.
Yeah. But then who is going to be the answer? I haven't got a clue, mate. Get a cabbie in, get a black cabbie, and we'll sort this stuff out. I'll do it. I'll be Mayor of London.
Do it.
I'll be Mayor of London. I'll go for it. Why not?
I do. So one of the things I do in America, you get a wider range of people that get into power. But in the UK, a lot of the people all of a certain ilk. It would be more interesting. Why not have someone more someone that's from all walks of life? Because at the moment, most of the time, the prime ministers are all poshos in private schools. Yeah. And they're going to have a little less understanding of things. Why don't they have someone that's grown from being working class to being over there? Well, I think see the full picture.
I think that's where they were touting originally Angela Rayner. I think she was kind of being sort of prepared to be that person to walk into that role. Obviously, what happened to her, she had to resign. But you're right. I do think it wasn't it. it was someone, don't quote me, someone famous turned around and said, going to Eton doesn't automatically make you a prime minister. It's like you do need someone from a different walk of life, a different background. Doesn't even have to be working, as in working class. Maybe someone from a business background, potentially. Yeah, maybe someone from more of a... Now, obviously, we'll talk about, Trump. He's not everyone's favourite character, but he's more from a business background rather than a political background, which gives him a different aspect on dealing with things, if that makes sense. So someone like that, not like as in Trump, but someone with more of a business brain rather than a political brain, potentially. I don't know.
The thing with Trump, he's not the one thing that is a fault of him is that he's not a self-made man. It's his dad that sort of made it all happen.
No, that is true. He did inherit a lot of money, didn't he? So yeah, you are right. He isn't a self-made man. But do you know what I mean? But someone from not a non-political background may be different, potentially. Yeah. Maybe that's what we need.
But it is what it is. I mean, it gives what's it called? I was speaking to a South African guy, but he talks too much, and he's a bit too he's a political madman, and he never stops on about it. But he says you can only control your locus of control.
Can only what? Sorry, you can only focus.
Like the things he focuses on, like areas that are within his control.
Oh, I see. Yeah. He focuses on stuff that he knows he can do.
That within your area of influence, yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. I understand that. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think you're right. I think we do need someone different. Someone just with a different background would be good.
But it is a big thing. Like, change is difficult. I mean, like in the comedy industry, people complain about the same things all the time, but people are scared to make the change. People are scared to do the uncomfortable things and make the changes until things get really weird or bad.
Yeah, you're right. There are the same sort of whinges and whines. You could talk about Edinburgh. That's normally one of the biggest whinges of people, but nothing will ever change because people will still pay and go. It's like, unless you do something to change it, all you're going to do is sit there and whinge about it. So yeah, I understand that. I don't mean the comedy world's a bit like that, isn't it?
It is.
Excuse me.
But the thing that I do like about the comedy world is the characters in it. That's the biggest thing I like about it. More than anything else, like I've been to acting schools and theatre schools, they're all of a certain ilk, but with comedy you get all sorts, and I think that's what makes it very interesting. And audience members as well. It's so accessible. You get all sorts of people coming to watch gigs, and for different reasons.
Yeah, definitely. I must admit, I don't know if you were the same. When I sort of come into the comedy world, I didn't know what to expect, and I've kind of met so many different people, like you say, in the audiences as well, and different types of audiences, different types of people, like learning what different types of people like. It's fascinating, and in different types of humour, maybe stuff that I've not really experienced in the past that I know, that I know and stuff like that. So you're right, yeah, you do meet all sorts of people. Very similar to the cab game. You meet all sorts of people there.
And how did the cab game prepare you for the comedy game?
Yeah, very well, easily. If anything, it's harder being a comedian than it is being a cabbie. I think that, like I always said, I think they kind of go hand in hand to a degree, where to be a cab driver, I won't say you have to be sociable. It helps. You don't have to be, but I think having the ability, because I've always worked in industries where I've had to talk to people. Like when I worked behind the bars, I had to talk to people. When I've worked in catering, I've had to deal with people. Do you know what I mean? So I've always kind of had to do that. I think working in the cab is kind of helped me deal with different situations, if that makes sense, because you've always got to deal with different stuff. You can then use that to then adapt that to the stage as well, and vice versa. I can take things from the stage to help me out in the cab game as well. So I'll say, that's what's helped me out the most.
What have been instances in the comedy game without getting anything dodgy, but what have been some things that have happened during gigs or with other comics where you're like, what the fuck is this? Let's talk about gigs, because I didn't even talk about comics that could go in the dodgy territory.
I was going to say, stop bad-mouthing comedians on a podcast. No. Well, how to end your career in 44 minutes here, Trev. Go for it. I'd say, but we've had, if I'm honest with you, me personally, when it comes to comedians, I can rarely name a bad, as in like, most 99% of people I've met have all been great. Genuinely, like I've worked with some really lovely people and like real nice people. So yeah, I think in that sense in the industry, I'm quite lucky in that. So I think I've been working with some great people. But I think gigs wise, worst thing that's happened to gigs. Oh man, I've had all sorts, mate. Shall I tell you one of my worst gig stories?
Yes.
Right. I've got two. I'll tell you this one. Right. I've had, like I said, we've all had gigs where things have happened. People have lost tempers. People not shut up and things like that. Right. I think the best one. Yeah, I'll tell you my worst gig story. And I think that'll make it easier. So I was doing it was like an open mic-ish sort of night, like a new material night up in Ipswich, and a friend of mine was running it, and he said, "Do you want to come and close it?" I said, "Yeah, cool, no worries." Anyway, midway in the audience, there was a big group of geezers, 2 women, and kind of mixed groups of people, right? But there's these 2 are the main 2 characters. These 2 women were horrible, right? I can't even use the words to describe them. They were just vile people. They were talking all the time. They were heckling. They were loud. They were obnoxious. They were just awful people. I'm sure you've had to deal with them, people like that, right? Anyway, the acts are going up. They're doing their material. It's all kind of going great. But let's say some of the material was very... We spoke earlier about material that's not, let's say, PC or a bit dangerous or a bit kind of pushing boundaries. Well, this had all sorts, mate. This had like... I don't even like the subjects like baby jokes. I don't even like talking about. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Offensive material. Even for me, I'm quite a liberal guy. Even I was a bit like, Jesus, rein it in a bit, son. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, these women didn't really say much about the material. They were just backwards and forwards all night. Anyway, coming to the end of the night, the MC comes up to me and goes, "Oh, we've got a guy in the audience. He's a blind guy. He comes every week, and he wants to just do 5 minutes. Would you mind if I put him on before you?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." Anyway, he goes on, right? It's the only time these women shut up, right? And he starts getting into material. It's all going great. It's all kind of funny. I'm like, oh, this is kind of good. And then it turns into probably some of the most offensive material I've ever heard, right? It was a bit, it was borderline racist, basically, what he was saying. I don't want to repeat it. It was basically that, yeah. And even for me, I was like, whoa, right? And there's people in the back of the audience, like, kind of thinking, what? You know what I mean, right? He comes off and the MC goes, "I'll bring you straight on." I'm like, "No, you're not." He said, "Yeah, no, I'll bring you straight on, I swear." So he's brought me straight on. Anyway, these 2 women start piping up again, didn't they? Right? The audience have all gone a bit weird because of what had just happened before with this act, with the material he's come out with. So I'm kind of trying to address it, saying, look, I'm trying to sort of bring the crowd around. And these 2 women wouldn't shut up. And I looked at this one woman and went, "Oh, shut up, Heather." Now, do you remember Heather Trott from EastEnders?
Oh, yes.
She was a spitting image of Heather Trott from EastEnders, right? So I went, "Oh, shut up, will you, Heather?" Right? Anyway, the crowd have turned on me, right? And I'm like, this group of geezers, so I go, "Mate, you're a bit out of order there, son. You shouldn't have really said that." And the women are like, "You're out of order. You fucking horrible fucking." Now, the people at the back, let's say they were ethnic, like the people from different, like a few black people in the back, ethnic minorities, were kind of on my side a bit because they were like, "Hold on a minute. Do you know what I mean? This guy was giving it all grief, but he's just come in and took the mick out of you." People start having a go at me for what I've just said, right? And I'm like, "Whoa, hold on a minute. We have had some of the most offensive material I've heard. We've had borderline racist material here. No, one of you's have bat an eyelid. I called her Heather, and you're going to kill me, right?" And I'm like, "What is going on?" So I've had to literally turn the audience around and go, "Right, stop the gig, right?" And I had to literally sit down with a woman and say, "Look," and explain what's going on. And she went, "Oh, I actually thought it was really funny." And you're just like... So I start the gig up again, right? And at this point, I've just looked at the promoter and said, "I'm doing 10 minutes, I'm going home." And he was like, "All right." He went, "All right." So I went up and done 10 minutes, just material, just didn't really care, and just went, "I'm going home." So yeah, that was the craziest gig I've done. That was one of the craziest gigs I've ever done.
Did he pay you? Because I know that some people will try and use that and not pay you.
Oh no, he paid me. He's a mate of mine as well. He's a mate of mine, and he's actually, to this day, we always talk about that gig. We always talk about that infamous gig. So yeah, you do meet some crazy punters in this game, crazy people, but you just got to learn how to deal with them. You know, sometimes you can as a comedian, you gain the skill set to do that. Sometimes you can't, and that's where you hopefully get security and people. Often I find as well, and I'm rabbiting on a bit here, often you find a bit as well, the audience self-police, if that makes sense. The audience will self-police it in a sense where they'll, if the people are getting out of hand and being too trappy, they'll start telling them to shut up, if that makes sense. So the audience will often help you out and self-police it.
What would you have done differently if you were in that situation?
Never took the gig. Never booked the gig. I think what I'd have done differently, I think I'd done everything right up until till I said Heather, and then when it all went a bit crazy and I stopped the gig. But I think when I restarted the gig, I maybe should have just done a bit more crowd work to bring them back around, because they were still a little bit lost, I think, hindsight. But I think there's nothing more I could have done. You know what I mean? It was like, this was carnage. You know what I mean? It was just chaos everywhere. So yeah, that's that. I think that's what I can really think about that, really.
Have you seen a moment of magic from like comedians that have been 20 years in the game where they turned something that seemed impossible into something amazing?
Yeah, one story springs to mind straight away. I was working with this comedian, right, on stage, and he was a pro comedian, and he was doing a great set. Set was going really well, and at the very end of the set, he starts doing this bit about having sex with a VR headset in, right? And this one woman just stands up and goes, "That is sexist." And everyone's kind of looked and gone, "What are you talking about?" And we all kind of look and going, "No, he didn't." And she's destroyed the audience. And he masterfully not only defused the situation, explained the joke, roasted her for doing what she did, and brought the audience back round to a level that he'd had before. I was like, yeah, that was great. That was superb how you dealt with that. That was proper. Do you know what I mean? That's what you watched. That's what you want to watch. Do you know what I mean?
What was it that was so good about it? That how did he? Was it like he understood how weird the situation was? How did he do it?
I'd say how he didn't let it fluster himself. One, he didn't get flustered. He didn't bow down to her almost. He almost said, no, hold on. I'll explain it. And he explained it perfectly. And then he not only did explain it, he then made a joke of it, brought the audience back on side. The way he kind of almost manipulated the whole situation to benefit him, if that makes sense, rather than he be like, because if he was a bit like nervous or like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Oh my God. He was like, no. I'm going to show you what to do. Anyway, and that's to me was very professional that day. And it always sticks in my mind, that story, because I was so impressed with what he did. I was like, wow, that was great. Do you know what I mean? That's what impressed me, and how he managed the situation.
But you hear that a lot though, don't you, about the big game comedy hitters like Jeff Innocent, who else is Adam Bloom, of course. Who else has been going for 20 years? Sean Collins.
Yeah.
Phil, who's the guy that's Canadian? Phil
Nickel.
Yeah, Phil Nickel. Who else is there? Yeah, so many.
Paul Tonkinson, is it? Paul Tonkinson's name?
Yeah, people like that. You hear so much about them being them spending 20, 30 years in the game and sorting things out and being able to handle things that seem impossible.
Yeah. And I think that was just purely age and experience, just showing you that I know what to do, if that makes sense. Yeah, age and experience, just to kind of show you this is how I do it. If I mean, this is how you do it. And I think that that really does show.
So with and how. I know that there was a little article a while ago, I think 2015, with Leo Kirsten. A few comics said this, that it takes about maybe 6 or 7 years to get a 20-minute set, and that's being lucky. And how important is it, like, for comics that are complaining, oh, I'm not getting 10 minutes, I'm not getting 20 minutes. They may be funny, but they don't have the experience to deal with dodgy rooms. What would you say there?
I'd say the first part, about 5, 6 years to get a good solid 20 minutes. Yeah, I'd say that's fair. And I think it's also I'm a bit of a believer in what I'd call doing your time in the industry, if that makes sense. You know, like not fast tracking it. I'm a bit of a believer of going through, doing the 5, smashing the 5s, doing the 10s, smashing the 10s, do you know what I mean? And working your way up the ladder. I'd say if there's a comedian out there that thinks, you know, I've got 10 minutes, but I'm not getting the spots, I don't understand. It can be tricky sometimes. I do understand that, you know, because remember, you're in like a pool of all these acts, you know what I mean? And you're fighting for scraps, you're all fighting for them spots. I would say make sure every level you're at, you're smashing before you move to the next one, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if you're doing a 5, make sure that 5 is an absolute, like, bulletproof 5, dynamite 5. You can 5 minutes of laughter, if you know what I mean. And then when you move on to say 10s, 7s or 10s, I never liked 7s. I thought 7s were rubbish. I hated 7s. I either went way too over or way too under. I could never get it right. And then same thing again, when you move to 10s, bide your time. Don't think I've done 2 10s, I can do 20s now. No. Do your time on the 10s. Do your time. There's no rush. You know what I mean? Do your time. Get really, really good on the 10s to your point where that 10, so when people look at you and go, you're way too good for 10s now, we'll put you on 15s, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Don't try and jump too fast too soon, because then what will happen is you'll think you have a 20, you think you'll have a 15, and you've only got a 10, and then that 5 will look terrible. And then promoters will remember that 5, if that makes sense. They'll go, well, he's got a 10, haven't got a 5. So when you hit 15s, make sure someone said to me once, if you've got a 10 minutes worth of material, only do a 5. If you've got a 15 worth of material, only do a 10, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So kind of always have a bit more in your locker before you want to move up. Don't rush. And just try and make sure every level you're at, you're killing before you move to the next one. Would be the best one. That's what I'd say.
And with the common sort of comedians across the globe share these struggles, not getting spots. Sometimes they don't want to write, or spending time developing jokes, dealing with terrible gigs, also handling like when gigs go well and not letting it get to your head, dealing with acts getting ahead of you. It's just the way of the game. So with all your years in comedy, what is your advice for dealing with the challenges of comedy?
That's a really good question. I would say when it comes to the gigs, I'd say I understand, like, especially if you feel like you're crushing it, but you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, if that makes sense. Like, just keep trying. I'd say I think the best way I can describe it is kind of, I live by a rule, and it's always kind of helped me out in the game, and it's always try your best, if that makes sense. I think that's the best way. Well, it's how I can answer all those questions, all them sort of questions into one question, if that makes sense. So I always say to try your best, no matter where you are, even if you walk into a room and there's 10 people in the room, and you go, this is going to be rubbish, this is going to be bad, there's only 10 audience members. No, always try your best, because for one, it shows respect to the promoter, because I think the promoter will then might have, say, 3 or 4 other gigs. They might have had a bad night tonight. They might have just been stitched up. The football might be on or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And that promoter will see you then go out and work really, really, really hard to try. And he or she will remember that. And they'll go, do you know what? You've done really well there. I'm going to book you in for my other gig. Then that other gig might have 100 people in it. And it'd be an amazing gig. Do you know what I mean? So it shows respect to the audience as well. It shows respect because those 10 people have paid money to go and see that. Yeah, there might be 10, but they've spent their money. They want to come and see you. Make sure you give them a good bloody show. Do you know what I mean? Because then they might follow you on social media, boost your social media followings. Then later in life, when you're doing your own show, they'll remember you and they'll come and see your show. Do you see what I'm saying? They'll gain a reputation. And thirdly, you never know who's in the audience. You never ever know. You might find someone in the audience could run their own night. Yeah, they could run their own gig, and they'll say, "Do you know what? Come down and do my gig. You'll love it." Right? There could be 80 people in the audience. You're on with, for example, big names, say like Scott Bennett, Angela Barnes. Yeah, you crush it. Scott Bennett remembers that, and then he'll put you through to another gig. And it all snowballs. If you know what I mean, it's when you think your career might take off all from that one crappy little gig. Does that make sense? So always try your best wherever you go. And then if the night is rubbish and you're just thinking, no, this is really bad, then think to yourself, right, what am I going to get out of it?
Okay.
Because stage time's at a premium, yeah? So when you're at that gig, go, right, okay, it's a pants gig. I might throw in 2 new jokes. Let's see how they land. If they land well, you might think, "Well, crikey, if they land there, they'll probably land anywhere." Do you know what I mean? It just always try and make sure that stage time works for you in some way as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
always every minute, make sure that works for you a bit as well, because stage time's precious, so make it work for you. So yeah, that's my wise mantra words to you. So there you go. I hope that's what I've always lived by in comedy. Just always try your best. Plus, it's always reputation as well. Do you know what I mean? Because then you gain a reputation of a good guy that tries hard.
Okay. What you said there is what happened to Robin Granger.
Okay, what
He
happened?
so he's it's a famous story in the Edinburgh Fringe, and he was performing in front of like 1 or 2 people, and Kate Copsick, the famous reviewer,
Yeah,
was listening in. Oh, this is some good stuff. And she wanted to go and watch. She saw him. She didn't go and watch him, but she saw him, and she left a good review or something. And then the rest of the Fringe, it was packed, and like he's now doing quite well for himself as a result of her famous review.
yeah, and that's what I mean. If he'd have gone into that gig going, "Oh, there's 3 people. Why am I bothering?" He'd have never got that good review, and it never have snowballed. He never. Do you know what I mean? So always, my motto is just always. I always used to say, I may not be the best act on the night, but you'll always get me giving my best.
Yeah.
It's as simple, just it's as simple as that. You know what I mean? I may not be the best here, but I'll always give you my best.
What's been? Have you seen any instances with comics where they performed in gigs that aren't ideal, but they worked their butt off and they've gained a lot from it?
Um, yeah, I'd say no one. I couldn't tell in particular, but yeah, I find when you work with, the more you got the ladder on these nights, is pro nights and stuff. You'll see they're pros, so they're professional, and that's what it is. You're being professional. And so yeah, I've seen acts will always, turn a small, tiny little room into an absolutely blinding gig, you know, because they've gone, no, this isn't just 10 people in a pub. We're going to make this a blinding 10 people in a pub, or blinding 20 people in a pub. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen acts do that. I couldn't say an exact example, but yeah, I've seen acts do that. Yeah, definitely.
I think I saw that with Laura Lex a while ago. I booked her because I saw her deal with a heckler in Brighton. And
Yeah,
then there was about 5 people in, but she did brilliantly. She really turned it into something.
yeah, yeah, and I think that shows obviously the professionalism, if you know what I mean. That shows the level that she's at, rather than just going, like, I've been to gigs. I'm sure. Have you seen it where acts have walked in and gone, oh, this is gonna be crap. I can't be bothered. Rah 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 rah. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever seen that?
So I've seen 2 things of that. I see the bit where they blame the audience and
Yeah,
they say you're shit, like you're a terrible audience, and they go in with a chip in their shoulder. I've seen them just do their set on and not bother. And then I've seen, what's another thing? Yeah, I've seen it get worse. But I remember a gig in Dublin where the guy did 40 minutes in between each act, and like it was a dreadful show, and the
oh,
lady warned me about it, and I saw one guy do quite well with it. I made it worse, but like there was one guy that did really well with it. I think he runs Cherry Comedy. I remember
I've
Dwayne
heard that.
Duggan
Yeah,
doing quite good in that. I remember him doing, and some American guy, but those 2 did really well with it. They did a bit of crowd work. I think they dressed some of the weirdness in it, and they did this set, and they really made something out of nothing.
yeah. See, those acts when you said there's nothing when an act goes, oh, terrible. I hate that audience. Or like, don't get me wrong, you do get some bad audiences. That we'll all admit that. We've all been in
Yeah,
nights where the audience has been terrible, and they like, or they've been not terrible. They've been hard work. I think the word
yeah,
is. We've
yeah,
all done that. But I think to go in with the attitude, like to say, have an instant negative attitude as soon as you walk on stage. I can't bother. I'm just not going to do this tonight. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you're wasting your own stage time. Stage time's a premium,
yeah.
So even if it is a bit of a poor night, a bit of a dodgy night, go, all right, well, it's not the best night. I've got a couple of new bits. If I shoehorn them in the middle, at least I try them out. No one will know. Do you know what I mean? Like you kind of
Ah,
do that a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Try and make something out of something.
Yeah, make this because stage time's at a premium. So whenever you get it, just make the most of it. Whatever you do, just make the most of it in some way
Okay,
to benefit you. That's what I'd say anyway. That's how I've always tried to deal with it. You know,
sure.
like I'm sure we've all done it. It's been like a night and it's been a bit pony. And you're like, oh god, this will be hard work. And I go, do you know what? I've got this one joke. I could put that right in the middle, right? and if it dies on its ass, it doesn't matter, right? And I've done it. Yeah, but then there's no better feeling. Would you agree when you put a new bit in and it works?
Oh yes, 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 yes.
Oh, that's like better than sex. It's like when you put a new bit in and it works, you're just like, yes, yes.
I'll edit that bit out.
Well, I'll show that bit to my missus. She'll hate that.
But yeah, no, that is the best feeling. And to anyone that's, it is the best feeling when something that you're not sure works. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, to anyone that is, so there's two questions I'm going to ask now.
Okay.
Who are comedians that you think are absolutely amazing and they're original, and why? And how do people find out about you? Who should people go and see because of their originality and their brilliance?
Do you mean like sort of non-mega celeb, but more sort of like unknown comedians, you mean?
I think that would be better. Yeah, let's do that. Non-known.
Okay, people that I think are absolutely sensational on the circuit. He's kind of known, but he's doing great at the minute with his social media. Josh Balfe.
Okay.
He's doing really, really well. Really, really well. Oh, that's a tricky one. I'm trying to think of someone off the top of my head straight away. You've caught me on the hop here a bit. Let me have a quick think. You name one and it might help jog my memory, right? Is anyone you
Okay.
know?
Well, I like some very weird and surreal acts, but I'll mention them anyway. I
Go on.
like Javier Costellas. He's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I've not seen him.
He's an Argentinian guy, says some very strange things, but it just works for him. I like Valerio Sara. He's very good, a terrific comedian.
Yeah.
The smarter guy. Who else is there?
Tomatoes.
Tomato.
Tomatoes. Yeah.
And then who else is there that's really he's someone that I think is really underrated. The one that I've seen that's famous that I think is absolutely brilliant is Dan Tiernan. But in terms of like not known, another one, who's another one that I think's really Luke Oliver. I think Luke Oliver is absolutely a comedian. That's my opinion. I think he's brilliant.
All right, I'm going to get this one, guys. Give me 1 second. I can help you out in this question. Hang fire, right? But no, I think the thing about it is that there's so many acts out there at the minute. Yeah. Got his right. There's a couple of acts now, right? The first one, this one isn't I looked up. Roman Harris.
Oh, okay.
Roman Harris, very good comedian. Very, very, very good comedian. I think he finished runner-up recently in the Ricky Gervais competition.
Okay.
I think it was runner-up. Roman's very, very good. Like you kind of like go, yeah, he's a solid act, man. He's a solid act. Who else? Roman Harris, and I'd say, do you know one act that I always thought was that I don't think she does much more anymore, but when she does is Fiona Ridgewell.
Oh yeah, she's very good. Yeah.
I thought, why is she not on the telly? Every time I used to see Fiona Ridgewell, I was like, why aren't you on the telly, mate? You should be doing so much more than what you're doing now. Like she's done well. Do you know what I mean? But I think if it's an act that you've not heard of, maybe it's her. It's Fiona Ridgewell. I always thought she was really, really good. Really good act. I don't know if she's doing much now because I think she had a kid potentially, but yeah. I'd say those are the two. And I'd say big celebs or bigger acts. My favourite musical comedian is Johnny Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, have you ever seen him?
No, not yet.
Oh, mate, he's the best musical act out there.
Oh, okay.
Musical acts probably hate me saying that, but I think he's unbelievable. I think he's so funny. He's brilliant. Adam Bloom, great act. Okay. Jeff Innocent, we all know. I think he's just an absolute, legend of the game. I'd say, yeah, those acts that you kind of watch and go, those are the acts that I like to watch, and you kind of go, yeah, I need to work hard.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? When you kind of look at it and go, yeah, I'm good, but yeah, I need to work a bit harder here. I need to do some more here. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got to up my game a bit now. Yeah, those ones. Oh, and one more, Scott Bennett. I think Scott Bennett's great.
Oh, I've never seen him. I really want to see him.
He's he's got stuck. You could just see it when I gig with him, and it's like I remember once, right, I was the middle act and he was opening, And I was like, and he crushed the opening so hard. And I was just like, he come off, and I was like, in my head, like, I went, oh, really good set, mate. In my head, I'm kind of going, oh, fuck me. I was like, oh, no. You know, you kind of go, oh, brilliant. I've got to follow that. And I even just walked on going, I've got to follow that. How am I going to follow that? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, Scott Bennett's just an absolute whirlwind. Brilliant. So, yeah, they're my acts. And the other question, where'd you find me? Do you want that?
Yeah.
Sorry, you were going to say something. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say that I prefer them storming it than bombing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say those are the names that always stood out to me.
Okay.
Anyway, where you'll find me, Big Trev's Taxi on TikTok is my big one. Or it's Big Trev Taxi or Trevor Bickles Comedy. I think it comes up as either. Where I've got that's where my TikTok followers are. I've got a web page, trevorbickles.co.uk, where you can see all my latest gigs. Instagram, Trevor Bickles. For any older people, I'm in the yellow pages as well. So,
okay. That's where you go, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. The next 2 episodes I got a comedian from Zambia in a couple of days. I got a comedian that's going to tell us about the Austin scene before and after Joe Rogan.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to listen to that one.
And what else I've got a police officer coming up. I've got a musical comedian coming up. And I've got another clown teacher coming up. Yeah. Hope you guys have enjoyed the episodes, and give this a review on all the platforms if you like it. If you didn't, don't worry. Also, subscribe to the Patreon. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.